Man, this is huge because if you look at the last 5 seasons prior, Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott have been co-offensive coordinator working together in tandem. Well, Jeff Scott took the USF job this past offseason. So now you don't have any guy in there in that room that you know have done it. And especially now you're talking about on a huge stage and having to pull out timing plays and rhythm plays and get you out of a bind plays. So I think it's a huge deal. It's nice having Trevor Lawrence, don't get me wrong, and a lot of plays will work with that big fella. But I'll be curious to watch. I'll be curious to watch the start of the game and then the adjustments as it goes along as a play caller or somebody that possibly hasn't called plays in a game. And now, hey, guess what? Let's go do it in the semifinal.
On the other side, I'm interested, David, in what you think of Ohio State saying that, hey, Dabo's ranking and this and that has added fuel to the fire. They're not often in a position where they have any disrespect to lean on. They're leaning into it a bit. What do you think of that?
Leaning on that disrespect, and you got last year what happened, where you felt like you were the better team and you lost to Clemson. So there's no sleepwalking in. There's no excuse for Ohio State. They're irritated. You saw Ryan Day, in the locker room, fired up, jacked up about it, and Dabo ranked him 11th in the final polls. So I think it's great. I think if you're an Ohio State fan, you're excited about it. You're excited about being the underdog. You don't get to play this chip very often. You don't get to play this card. Like, you're always the favorite. You're always talked about in such glowing terms, and so I think it adds some fuel. I think it's going to be great, and anything that pisses your guys off or annoys your guys a little bit more, that makes them focus a little bit more and makes them care a little bit more, as you know, is always a great thing.
Notre Dame's a significant underdog. Frankly, the experts don't expect it to be a game against Alabama. David, do you?
I'll tell you what, this injury to Landon Dickerson, their center, is a big deal. When they wanted to run the football with Najee Harris and run the clock out, it didn't work real well. And now you're putting a new guy in this spot that now has to communicate and make calls. So I'll be interested to watch that component. Ian Book's got to go nuts, Scott. Like, he's got to be insane, and he's had great moments, and the degree of difficulty is going to be large because he doesn't have guys on the perimeter that's going to win. So it's a huge task. I don't expect Notre Dame to be able to go win, but I am curious to watch this Alabama team now with their best offensive lineman out for the season and not playing in the playoffs at probably the most important spot on the line of scrimmage.
So you say Book's got to go nuts. This is a defense that's let some people go nuts. So how much does that give Notre Dame sort of maybe the belief that, hey, look, we can score some points on these guys?
You got to have a guy at the quarterback position that can make those plays and scramble around and buy time and or put the ball on the money. And Ian Book can do a little bit of both. He's not Trask when it comes to putting it on the money with freak shows out wide. They don't have the speed out wide, but they have the size. They have the ability to run the football. So, no, I do not look at this Alabama defense in any way, shape, or form and see dominance. Can Ian Book make this a shootout with his weapons on the outside that are more tight end-like? And all the tight ends they play, that's going to be an interesting factor.
Yeah, and the last time you and I talked was in advance of Notre Dame against Clemson. You said Book had to be great. He was. They won. Obviously, the terms and time were different, and Lawrence didn't play in that game, and now they're on opposite sides of the bracket. As always, David, appreciate your time, your thoughts. Look forward to watching the semis on Friday. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year. Thanks, Scott.
SportsCenter on the Road is presented by Rocket Mortgage.
And might have gotten into the champagne early. Y'all were having some fun down there in the commercial break, which is okay. You guys win big, and Lincoln, congrats. It's 8 straight to finish the year. And I feel like bowl momentum, a lot of times, I think that's kind of iffy. But given what you guys have been these last couple of months with this kind of win, what are you taking into the spring with you in terms of this team?
Well, a lot of excitement. Our team has really grown and come together throughout this year that's been unlike any other for so many. And we've played some of the best ball as a team that we've played around here in a long time in this last stretch. And so to be able to do it in this year, to be able to do it playing so well defensively, doing some really good things offensively here tonight as well, and just playing really good, complete team ball, it's exciting. And we've got a team that's going to return a lot of key players and add a lot of new, exciting young players, and we're excited about where we're headed.
Lincoln, are you more likely to look forward, given what you just said, or look back at September and wonder what might have been if one or two different things happen? Which is sort of more likely?
No, me, I'll definitely look forward. I mean, that's the nature of college football, especially in a year like this. It was so difficult to judge teams with the playoff. I certainly think we're one of the best teams in the country right now, but that's part of how it goes with the way we're set up now. And but I think the excitement is there. You could even feel it in the locker room. I mean, our guys were excited about this win, about beating Florida, finishing the season as Big 12 champions again. But you could already hear them starting to talk about, what this team could be, and they can't wait to get back to work and go chase another championship.
You've alluded to it, and so has every coach and athlete in every sport, about what this year has been like. How do you best explain what you, your coaches, your players, everyone in and around your program has had to sacrifice, what you've had to give up to get what you got, which was this season?
It's been a daily fight, Scott. I mean, it's just been a daily fight, and I think every person involved with our program had to make a decision on how important this season was to them and what they were willing to sacrifice, what they were willing to give up, and it was so much. But I think everybody in that locker room right now would tell you that it was worth it because when a lot of people saw obstacles, we continued to, really try to see opportunities, and our players stuck through it, our staff stuck through it, and that's why, we all feel so great right now and why we're Cotton Bowl champions.
We're going to show this full highlight here in a moment. I showed some of it earlier, and I said, look, on paper, I think a lot of college football fans, you know how much I love this sport, would have loved to have seen everybody on both sides play. I understand why guys don't. Just philosophically as a coach, when you have talked to players about whether they want to play or not, and in the future when you talk to players about whether they want to play or not, how do you handle those conversations, understanding what these guys have to try to kind of weigh?
Well, I think you just got to be honest and upfront with these guys, and I think you just try to. My job is, to give them a real understanding of what playing in that game looks like and what playing does not look like, and I think you just have to understand what you could potentially be sacrificing because, yes, there's so much work that goes into this, and for these guys that are getting ready to make the jump to the NFL, the NFL's great, but it'll never be like their experience in college. The majority of our NFL guys, even guys we've had first-round picks, Heisman Trophy winners, guys that are all pro, all this and that, every one of them when they come back say, man, I wish I could play another game at OU, and it's just not like it was there. And so you never get that back, and I don't want guys to have that regret, but at the same time you understand each guy's got to make their decision, and if guys do that, like, both teams had that tonight, we had a couple as well, and that's a great opportunity for your young guys to step up and go play in a major bowl game.
My guy Stanford Steve was just nodding his head. I know his fondest memories of college are playing in these bowl games. Last thing on the way out, Lincoln, you and your team have been part of the playoffs so often. It's rare that you're not. I just wonder, come Friday, do you turn the TV on or do you just ignore it?
No, I won't ignore it. It's a goal of ours to be back. We've been in a lot of them, and that's certainly our plans to be back in the next one.
Lincoln, I appreciate your time. I wish you and your guys the best. A happy and safe New Year, okay?
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, too. All right, we get to show those Sooner fans what they did in this game. Y'all know it. They rolled. Number 7, number 6. I appreciate that answer. Look, you got choices to make. And, they had OU had some guys opt out. Florida had pretty much everybody on offense that their quarterback threw it to decide not to play in this one. Spencer Rattler, what a talented young arm he's got. They've outscored their opponents 134-17 in the first quarter. That's to Marvin Mims. Sooners up 7-0. Kyle Trask picked by Trey Norwood for 6, and that's something we've said 4 different times this season. Nobody in FBS football has had more pick 6 than Trask's had, unfortunately, against him. It's 14-0. Trask. Gators driving. It's tipped into the hands of Brian Asamoah of the Boomer Sooner defense. That defense that got a lot better from where they were when the season started. Held to a field goal. Gators drive again, trying to get on the board. Trask picked again. Woody Washington here. Wide open possible touchdown there. Trask 3 picks in the first quarter. Only had 2 picks in the first quarter of his previous 21 starts. Little platoon situation going on. Emory Jones. He puked after this. He gave everything he had to try to get them into the end zone. Then they got another turnover and a field goal, and you're thinking maybe this Gator team's going to make it a game. It was close for a moment, and then it wasn't. Theo Weiss turns it upfield and says, everybody calm down, we got this. They'd had another before the half. And Ramondre Stevenson, MVP of the game, running through tackles. You're not going to bring that young man down with just your arms. Nope, nope. Boomer. Sooner. 186 on the ground for Big 29, and it's a 55-20 victory for Lincoln.